Hi, I'm Lucy and welcome to Beautifully Unfinished. It's a space where we discover that life doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. It's a place where we can lay down the pressure to have it all together and simply be human. Thank you for joining me here today. And before we begin, I'd like to share something that's been on my heart this week. It's been one of those weeks, where one's emotions have just felt like a flood. Normally, I'm very good at keeping them behind a dam. I'm very good at holding everything together, putting one foot in front of the other and telling myself I'll deal with it later. And if someone asks me how I am, my answer comes automatically. I'm fine. But this week, oh my goodness, the floodgates opened. Tears came, whether I wanted them to or not. And perhaps for the first time in a very long time, I realized that they actually needed to. Sometimes we don't need to hold everything together. Sometimes we simply need to release, to breathe, to cry, and to just be. I've realized something about myself this week. I'm actually incredibly blessed. I have a wonderful, loving partner who gives me the safe space to be honest. I have family and friends who deeply love me. The problem isn't that I don't have people I can talk to. The problem is often me. I hold things back, not because I don't trust people, but because I spend so much time worrying about everyone else's feelings. I don't want to hurt people. I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to make difficult situations even harder. And for the first time in a long time, I couldn't pretend that I was actually fine. And it made me realize something. Pretending I'm fine doesn't make the pain go away. It simply means I carry it alone. And that's what I'd like to talk about today. It's the weight of those two tiny little words. I'm fine. I think many of us become experts at coping. We power through. We keep busy. We tell ourselves there are people who have it far worse than we do. We minimize our pain because somehow it feels selfish to admit that we're actually struggling. We tell ourselves, I should be grateful. I have so much. I'm so lucky. I'm so loved. And while gratitude is a beautiful thing, gratitude should never become the reason to silence genuine hurt. Because hurt is hurt. Pain isn't a competition. Your heart doesn't compare itself with someone else's. It simply is asking to be acknowledged. For a while, coping works. Life becomes a treadmill. You get up, you go to work, you look after someone else, you smile, you keep moving, you tick another box. Because you're functioning, everyone assumes you're okay. The trouble with treadmills is that you can't keep running forever. Eventually, your legs grow tired, your breathing becomes shallow, you desperately want to get off, but you don't know how. So you keep running until one day, your body decides for you. There's a phrase that stayed with me for years now. It's the body keeps the score. I think there's so much truth in those words. Our bodies remember what our minds try to forget. It's the tears we never cried, the conversations we never had, the grief that we buried, the disappointments we push aside, the fears we told ourselves we'd deal with. They don't disappear. They settle into our shoulders, into our neck, into our stomach, into our muscles, and even into our nervous system. Before we know it, we're living in that constant state of fight or flight. Always alert, bracing ourselves, always waiting for the next disappointment. That isn't peace. That's survival. No wonder so many of us feel emotionally exhausted. No wonder sleep becomes so difficult. No wonder our minds race. No wonder anxiety quietly becomes our normal. Because we're carrying far more than anyone can actually see. The frightening thing is that coping becomes a bit habitual. It's the mask that fits so comfortably that we eventually forget that we're actually wearing it. Being fine becomes part of who we are. People admire how strong we are, how capable we are, how resilient we are. Meanwhile, deep inside, we're drowning. Quietly, but we're drowning. I don't think healing means becoming fixed. I don't think it actually means that we're broken. Healing is something far gentler than that. It's allowing yourself to feel what you spent years trying not to feel. Healing is asking for help. It's admitting that today is really hard. It's saying, I'm not okay, and discovering that the world doesn't fall apart when you say this. Something I've learned is that pretending we're fine doesn't protect our hearts. It builds walls around them. Walls that don't just keep the pain out, they keep the love out too. They keep connection out. Because real connection isn't built on perfection, it's built on presence. It's built on allowing another human being to know the real you, the messy you, the uncertain you, the frightened you, the beautifully unfinished you. I also think perfectionism plays a bigger role than we actually realize. So often perfectionism isn't about excellence, it's about your own fear. Fear of being rejected, fear of not being enough, of disappointing people. Fear that if someone saw the real you, they might leave. So we perform. We smile. We keep producing. We keep achieving. And underneath it all sits anxiety, whispering that we're still not enough. It's exhausting. Eventually we stop asking for help. We stop taking risks. We stop checking in with ourselves because somewhere along the way we learned that our value comes from holding everything together. One of the most powerful things that I've learned in this, in order to claim it, you first have to name it. Naming an emotion doesn't make you weak. It actually calms your nervous system. There's something incredibly healing about saying, I'm grieving, I'm anxious, I'm scared, I'm disappointed, I'm lonely, I'm overwhelmed. Suddenly the emotion isn't controlling you. You're acknowledging it and you're making a bit of space for it. You're giving yourself the same compassion you would so willingly give to someone else. We're often encouraged to stay positive, to look on the bright side, to count our blessings. And I absolutely believe gratitude changes us. But positivity should never become permission to ignore the pain. The two can exist together. You can be grateful and grieving. You can be hopeful and heartbroken. You can be strong and struggling. Joy and pain can exist in the very same heart. The truth is, facing what is real is incredibly brave. Sometimes courage doesn't look like confidence. Sometimes courage sounds like a shaky voice saying, I'm not coping. Sometimes courage looks like a flood of tears. Sometimes courage is sitting quietly on your own, listening to your heart instead of running away from it. Healing isn't neat, it isn't quick, it isn't linear, it's messy, it's uncomfortable, it's deeply honest, but it's also incredibly freeing. I've also realized that the stories we refuse to own end up owning us. The pain we suppress doesn't disappear, it simply goes deeper. It shapes how we see ourselves, how we love, how we trust, how we show up, until one day we realize we've been living behind a mask for so long that we've forgotten what our own face actually looks like. Healing then becomes a declaration. It says, I choose honesty over performance. I choose truth over pretending. I choose connection over isolation. Healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you were before the life you convinced yourself you had to hide from. It's returning home to yourself, without shame, without pretending, without the armor. Maybe that's why this podcast is called Beautifully Unfinished, because healing isn't about arriving. It's about becoming. It's about having the courage to say, I'm still figuring this out. You don't have to perform to deserve love. You don't have to earn your place by pretending you're okay. You are already worthy, exactly as you are. I'd love to leave you today with one of my favorite quotes from the very wise Winnie the Pooh. You're braver than you believe. You're stronger than you seem. You're smarter than you think. And you're loved more than you'll ever know. Maybe that's the truth we need to hold on to. Not that we're fine, but that we're loved. Completely loved. Thank you so much for spending the time with me today. If this episode resonated with you in any way, I'd love it if you would like, follow, and subscribe, and perhaps share it with someone. It just helps keep this podcast going. So until next week, I hope you have a beautiful weekend, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.